Welcome into the Illini Inquirer Podcast. I know people have been looking forward to this one because we got J Leman, our All-American linebacker, Illini Inquirer football analyst, Big Ten Network analyst, breaking down the biggest home win of Bret Bielema's tenure so far as Illinois upsets then number 19 Kansas. They now fall out of the rankings, and Illinois now just one spot outside of the rankings. Who thought Northern Illinois would keep Illinois out of the rankings? But Jay, here we go. A huge win for this program. So let's start there. Just big picture, how important is this win for Bret Bielema, this fan base, and this program?
Well, I think as a program, you lose this game and you're just kind of like, here we go again. This is what my lot in life is that I'm a Illini fan, and I'm disappointed over and over and over again. And you have a question of, okay, if they can't beat Kansas at home, can they go to a bowl? Are they lower third Big Ten? You have all these questions kind of in your head. And then it goes to, can we get the recruits that we need to based on the progress we're making in year 4? And we thought we had all these things, but we weren't good enough to get the job done on a night that Kansas certainly didn't play their best. Some of that was due to the Illini. So I think it's a huge momentum builder. Now, I got a chance to listen to your guys' after the game pod, which is always great. You and Joe, we do a great job. Wagner do a great job. And you're like, hey, you beat Central Michigan, who at least on paper doesn't look good. Because remember, Florida International got boat raced by Indiana. And then Florida International, boat raced Michigan, Central Michigan rather. And so you're like, okay, putting that together, they could be 3-0 and on their way to a bowl game, which is big progress for this football team. I think if you go to a bowl consistently 6-7 wins, you can have a team that people not only show up for and expect a game, but also expect them to win a couple like this. So I think it was just huge for the program in general as far as getting players there. I know there were a lot of recruits there, and the fans went away happy. How many times have we seen the fans get up for a moment and then just not able to actually bring it home? So on all those fronts, it's all good for the Illini right now.
Well, and if they beat Central Michigan, which I would expect, they will be 3-0 for the first time since 2011, Jay. And they've only done that once since 2002. So I know you guys played Missouri at the beginning of each year. Yeah, that's why, but that's hard.
We played Missouri, then rattled off, I think, maybe 5 straight. And then even that Big Ten championship team started the season, the Big Ten season, with a loss at Michigan. And then rattle off, the rest as wins. It's so hard for Illinois to start with an undefeated record. It just is. I mean, how many years did we see Wisconsin 4-0, 7-0, 8-0? You're just like Iowa 4-0, 5-0. Like, man, why can't we just get a start and just wrap up the bowl game easier? But what I have found to be true as an Illini fan is these wins don't come along as much as we would all like them to come along. So really celebrate it, enjoy it. This was what I called the truth game. The game for Illinois fans where it's like, all right, are we the real deal or are we not the real deal? And hey, we have a chance to be the real deal.
Jay, you said it. I didn't think Kansas played all that well. Illinois' defense had a lot to do with that. But what were you most encouraged about that Illinois can build on and can go into Nebraska and give the Cornhuskers a game and potentially go win that one or go to Penn State and give them a game? Like, what gives you most confidence coming out of this game?
Well, I think the ability to respond, like as a veteran team, there's so much situational football that Illinois, quite frankly, out-executed Kansas in those situations. So you've got the red zone. Both of them had some faults in the red zone, either be penalties or the drop by Aiden Lawfrey. But I thought Illinois did, for the most part, a decent job in the red zone, always coming away with some points. I know we didn't finish everything with stuff, but it kept us in there. David Alano kept us in that game. Okay. Some of the special teams, the punt return, we can talk about that later. That was muffed and then into the end zone for the touchback. That was not great, but Alano on the special teams kept us in there. So the special teams, the defense, hey, we're going to get into that all, but was a bend but don't break defense against what has been a very good Kansas offense, and was very opportunistic at making Kansas go the length of the field and waiting for a mistake. And then the 2-minute drill, we did a phenomenal job in 2 minutes as far as, hey, not only getting off the field, but scoring. And we also scored a field goal before that, before half. And the 4-minute drill as well, which is trying to run out the clock at the end of the game. And so all these things worked out great when maybe you even didn't play your best in some areas. I don't think we played our best up front. I don't think our running backs played the best they could play. I think Luke Altmaier would probably say there were some throws he could have done better on, right? Do I think our receivers, our 2 top receivers, played their best? I do. Do I think our defensive backfield played the best? Yes. Are there a lot of things to work through? Yes. But when we talked about critical things that you need to win in a game, red zone, turnovers, penalties, special teams, third down, those are the things that will make or break a game. Can you win more than half of those against a good team at home? You have a chance, and Illinois did just that.
Yeah, we talked coming into the season about winning in those areas, maybe winning on the margins, right? And they won in those little areas, those big situations. But let's talk about this defense, because you have to feel so great for Aaron Henry, because this was an apples to apples comparison of last year. The first game that gave us like a lot of worry and concern about the defense last year. So to come out and have this type of performance where the defense leads Illinois to wins, you get 4 more takeaways, Jay, and you close out the game, really, right? I mean, I know the offense had a great drive, but the defense in the second half, in that fourth quarter, came up with some huge stops. So this is kind of reminiscent of the 2022 formula. So why is this defense so far? It's only 2 games. Why are they more like the 2022 version than the 2023 version?
Well, I would say this. One, they're just playing a lot more sound on the back end. I never saw one receiver just running wide open like we saw against Kansas a year ago, right? I mean, there was, and then you mentioned
the only time was probably the Torrey Cox fell, right? And Lawrence Arnold gets the touchdown. That's probably the only time.
Torrey Cox fell on that one. I guess Luke Grimm was open on the penalty for a reason as well, on the pick play that Xavier Scott got picked on. That's the only one I could really think of. And even that was a scramble. So when a quarterback scrambles, just so you guys know, the call is plaster. And plaster is basically, hey, quarterback's out of the pocket. Now you're going to have the receiver run the direction of the quarterback or go upfield. And you have to go plaster, get your eyes on the court. It's a very tiring process and drill. And that play can last 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 seconds. And so, number one, I thought we did a tremendous job in coverage. We didn't do that last year. And because of that, we were able to limit big plays. And you texted me yesterday and said, it's something like 6 big plays we gave up, I guess, by the metrics in the game. What was it?
So the number is big plays or chunk plays are 10 plus yards rushing or 15 plus yards passing. Last year against Kansas, Illinois gave up 20 of those. This year, Illinois gave up 6. So while they didn't have a great run defense game, I didn't think it was terrible, but Kansas was able to get yards. Like Kansas wasn't able to get huge chunk plays that just led to these quick drives. Like Kansas had to drive the field for these.
I think that's the telling stat, because then Kansas would make mistakes, right? There was one time when Devin Neal, I thought, was going to break it. I think Xavier Scott probably made that tackle too to save that as well, right? So that might have been one of the more important plays when they made that play. But they were getting 7, 8, 9, 10 yards a chunk, but they made them in kind of a knock on Kansas. So if you're a Kansas fan, you're like, why didn't our offensive coordinator just keep running the football? It didn't feel like Illinois could stop them, because Illinois wasn't great. It wasn't their best defensive line performance. And I can tell you this, I got to go to the game in person. Illinois is not big on the defensive line. They're certainly not meaty compared to other defensive lines or offensive lines they're going around. But I'm not overly concerned that much about the pass rush. I think it was more about containing Jalen Daniels, and that's reason number 2. I thought they said, we want Jalen Daniels to beat us with his arm. Can he beat us with his arm? Obviously not. Had some real accuracy throws, telegraphed a lot of balls. Miles Scott was one of them. Xavier Scott was another one. He was locking into receivers, and for the most part, he ran to kind of create throws, not run to get the first down. He ran some on some quarterback draws, on some option plays, but for the most part, they contained Jalen Daniels. And I think it really limited our rushers because they were trying to stay in their rush lane. They couldn't just freelance and do what they wanted to. But the game plan was make him beat him with your arm, and on the back end they held up. And then number 3 is we were able to get turnovers like we were in 2022. We weren't able to get that in 2023. Hey, when they throw the ball to you, you got to catch it, right? And Brett kind of said something to that regard in the press conference. And, I thought Xavier Scott the first time ran the route for the receiver. I mean, and that's coaching, right? He ran the out route better than the other guy ran it. I'm not sure why Jalen Daniels threw that football. Okay. I'm not really sure why he wasn't open. Number 2, on the second turnover, it was great play recognition, right? As far as, hey, they've done this to me before. Let me pull the trigger. And he did pull the trigger and was rewarded with a touchdown. Miles Scott playing that high free safety, great center field. That was a play he totally locked in on his receiver. And Miles was breaking on that before he threw that ball, right? Of course, he had the fumble late. And so I think there's a lot of different techniques there. And then I'll throw in the Caleb Patterson as well, which is, they ran what I call the Kansas City Chiefs play that's made famous, where they're going to put that guy in motion in man coverage and act like he's going to go all the way across the field, thinking that Caleb Patterson's going to take his eyes off him and try to sprint to the other side of the field to cover him. He did for a second, but Patterson able to recover and tackle Luke Grimm in space and really strain to stop him from getting the first down marker. It's those little things. Those 4 plays right there totally changed the game. I think Kansas punted twice, but other than that, they weren't really stopped other than by turnovers, right? Or getting stopped on 4th down. And so accumulation of those things really helped us. I thought Rosiak had a good game for some moments. At some moments, he wasn't great in the hole sometimes, but for the most part, our back end really came to play when it counted.
Jay, 8 takeaways in 2 games. I don't know how sustainable that is. Because if you get 4 takeaways a game, you're probably going to win a lot of games, right?
Sure.
Like you're probably going to win 10 plus games.
Yeah.
So what is sustainable about what they're doing with the takeaways?
Well, I think, first of all, if you get 2 takeaways a game and you give up 1, you're going to have a plus turnover margin. You're going to do good, right? I mean, you're going to have a plus 12 over your season, right? I mean, that's a pretty healthy turnover margin to be plus on. And 2 turnovers a game is sustainable. They're not going to get 4 every game, right? But I will say this. If you make an offense go 10 plays instead of 2 plays, your chances of getting a turnover are much better, which is what happened, right? I mean, it's real simple. I know that's not hard-hitting analysis for you deep fans, right? But I will tell you this, it's the truth. The onus is on the offense to execute. And on the defense, it's to adjust and play with extreme effort and technique. When you make an offense execute, they will make mistakes over time in an evenly matched contest like we were in. We were fairly evenly matched against Kansas. And so I think making them do that, I think playing with the proper technique. I was really impressed. I've always been impressed with Torrey Cox's technique. He's a guy I think is a real technician out there. He did fall down on a route, and then that opened up. I think Xavier Scott, I can't say this enough about the nickel position. I do think that is probably his best position for the University of Illinois.
I was going to say, like, Tyler Strain was healthy for this game. He played on special teams, so he was cleared. Right. They can't move Xavier Scott off nickel, right? Like, they can't do that now.
I think, and for those that don't know, the nickel has become one of the most important positions, especially when it comes to second and medium and third down. Because
Devin Witherspoon, the NFL.
Right. They're going to, and that's what he does, because they're going to move their best receiver, maybe not their best receiver, but their Isaiah Williams, their Luke Grimm in this case, to that number 3 slot, get him on a favorable matchup. They're thinking, let's get him on a linebacker. Well, we were moving the nickel over, and the whole playbook is open. You can run pick routes for him. We saw him run pick routes for him. You can motion that guy. We saw him run motion. You can run vertical with guy. We can run vertical. Did Xavier Scott get beat on a corner route for 1 touchdown to Luke Grimm? He did, but that doesn't take away from the A+ game that he had, right? I'm just saying it's heavy duty every snap. I'm talking at nickel, right? Especially on 3rd down. They are going to target that nickel. It's such an important position in today's football, and I don't think people realize like how important it is. because your nickels basically become your base package in a lot of these 11 personnel offenses. And for him to do that, he's playing at an extremely high level. And that's where the depth at corner comes in, right? Because you're able to move Cox to corner, Caleb Patterson. We think Terrence Brooks is going to be at least a great backup. He's got experience and whatnot. And you've got Tyler Strain there at nickel. So the three safeties, Xavier Scott at one time did play safety. And it's Xavier Scott, not Xavier, but Xavier Scott, and Miles Scott and Matthew Bailey. They're really a talented group. I thought Matthew Bailey, of all the DBs, could have played better. He would have told you he could have played better. He probably didn't have his best game. This game was not really Matthew Bailey's going to excel in a hard-hitting in-the-box game. That's kind of the safety he is. This is a game that's going to be very difficult for a Matthew Bailey at this part of his career. He's got to cover in space. That's not necessarily his strong suit. I would say Xavier Scott and Miles Scott, that is more their strong suit. So I'm not knocking on Matthew Bailey. He would tell you that he could play better as well, but the nickel's so important. I don't even know what the question was. I just want to talk about the nickel because I think
I love
that's the important thing is you look at this defense, how important a nickel is in a defense.
No, I think Xavier Scott's more valuable right there.
Right.
He played there last year. So that answered my question. I want to talk about the defensive front, Jay, because it is weird being a defensive lineman against Kansas because you're right. You're not all out rushing. So there wasn't a lot of pressure on Jalen Daniels because there wasn't a lot of blitzing until the final play of the game. Kudos to Aaron Henry for that. You're just trying to keep him in the run lanes. Dylan Rosiak spying, right? So I thought the linebacker struggled in space a little bit as we'd expect. I think Devin Neal is a stud. And I thought he should have gotten the ball more than Kansas gave him the ball.
You and every Kansas fan, thought he should have gotten the ball more. He's an extremely patient runner as well. Yeah. And ability to hit the hole. He's a great player, really good football player.
But I did think, I thought Seth Coleman had some really good moments. I thought Dennis Briggs and T.Rod Edwards, especially late in the game, played pretty well. So what did you take away from the defensive front in that game?
Well, one, I think we did the rule number one coming to this is let's contain Jalen Daniels and let's make him beat him with his arm. Guys, it's not uncommon for Jalen Daniels to run for 100 yards and over half of it be on scrambles. I mean, that's how good he is throwing the football. But he's also short. He wants to get outside the pocket so he can see. I don't think he saw the field that well when he's in the pocket. I really don't think he can see that well just by some of the throws he was making. And that's why they like to kind of get him out of the pocket. So one, I thought, did we see bone crushing pass rushing or great moves? No, but for the most part, I thought our our defensive ends and Dennis Briggs and T-Ra played good as far as containing. Okay. Number two, I thought we took away really the zone read run as far as the quarterback running. You never really saw the quarterback pull it and take it. When he did, Dennis Briggs smoked it for a key tackle for loss, I believe, in the fourth quarter, right? That was a key play when he actually tried to take it. They took away that play very soundly. So number two. Number three is they had tough duty on the option when we're in man coverage, okay? And that's something you always have to be aware of. Like you see them run the option, like, why aren't they running? Well, they don't know if it's going to be a run. They don't know if it's going to be a pass. They don't know if it's going to be an option. You run an option in man coverage. I still remember 2006, we're playing Purdue. Curtis Painter, we run a zero blitz. Everybody's covered for in a blitz except the quarterback. If you don't, because everybody's got a man-to-man. So in man-to-man defense, everybody's got a man except the quarterback. So when you're in man coverage and the quarterback has his hands on the ball, he can still throw the ball, right? So he's behind the line of scrimmage. This is where he could do an option pass, which, by the way, Kansas has that in there. So they can do an option pass. So you've got to stay in coverage. So sometimes you're running who's got these guys on the option? Well, they did a good job of making at least him pitch the ball, maybe later sometimes than they wanted to make him pitch the ball, and then recovering with speed. We saw that one time. I don't know what safety it was. Maybe Miles Scott came down or Matthew Bailey, I can't remember, and made a play in speed. So you have the option you're dealing with. That's a hard thing. And our D-line is not massive. T-Ra's probably the biggest overall. Gabe's probably the strongest. Dennis Briggs is wiry, but he's put together, but he's certainly not a beefy Big Ten defensive lineman. We've got to rely on movement. We've got to rely on playing with sound technique and kind of holding our point of attack. And I thought, although we didn't have the flashy sack numbers, we got some pressure in the fourth quarter when we needed it. And for the most part, contained Jalen Daniels. So again, I know we didn't get many sacks against Eastern Illinois. I'm not that concerned about the D-line. On the pass rush side, I am a little bit concerned on if somebody wants to run the football down our throat, do we have the beefiness and depth this year on the D-line? It felt like
keyword there, right. Depth. Right. When the second unit comes in, I get concerned, Jay, because those guys just need another year of development, in my opinion, just strength wise.
It feels like the defensive backs last year. That's what it does. It feels like they're a year away. I think we have some good players, but there was probably 4 or 5 times I'm watching the game like, man, I wish we had Johnny Newton in there just to disrupt a run play and get a negative play or just to eat up something, right? You're really missing that. But I think they can slug it along, and we tackled great on the back end. I thought the tackling was really good in space, and we can slug it along. I just don't think it's going to be smash mouth with our D-line this year. Do we make some plays? Yes. But, man, to be a smash mouth D-line, you got to roll 8 or 10 deep and got to have a couple more 300-pounders.
All right, I want to take a minute to tell you about Home Field Apparel because they are the premium collegiate apparel brand, and they're based in nearby Indianapolis. Home Field sent me a few shirts, and what I love about them is, of course, they have incredibly comfortable, well-fitting shirts, but they also have officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs, and they have more than 180-plus available colleges, including, yes, your Illinois Fighting Illini. They have great gear for the upcoming football season, so for the warm weather games, check out their Script Illini t-shirt, the Orange Ringer tee, the vintage Oski Wawa helmet, or for the fall chillier games, check out the Script Illini hoodie, the Flying Illini hoodie, the Flying Illini quarter zip, and if they're still available, you might want to check out homefieldapparel.com for this. Check out their Script Bomber jacket. It is awesome. Also, don't miss their Can't Miss Kickoff 2024 campaign. So Home Field is giving away these special football boxes, and these platinum VIP boxes include 3 never-before-seen items from your school that are not available anywhere else. They're curated so fans have new gear to wear all season long, suitable for all weather conditions. And these platinum boxes also include other exclusive items, including a new hat or ringer, a VIP koozie, and a 2024 Platinum Pass, which guarantees 20% off and early access to your school's football releases through the 2024 season. The football boxes are available on August 9th, so these will sell out quick, so go check them out. Go to homefieldapparel.com to check out their great selection of Illini gear and use code Illini24, that's all capitals, Illini24 for 15% off. That's Illini24 for 15% off at homefieldapparel.com. I know I'm bringing this up and I'm harping on it, but that's why I still like Gabe Backus on the interior. I like getting Alec Bryan out there, and I think Gabe just is a better pass rusher on the interior, to be honest with you, and can disrupt things. So I'd still like to see more of that. Maybe it was just the game plan against, they ran more 4-man fronts this game. So, but I just like Gabe on the interior. I think their best unit is out there when he's in the interior.
I think you're correct. I think that by the end of the season, I think you could see Joe Barna be consistent as a defensive end. Like, he was getting good tick in there and plays extremely hard. And so I think you'll see Barna start to get some more time and share it with Bryant and Coleman. And I think Gabe will move down. I think that's actually where he's probably more comfortable. So anyway, I'm not raising alarm bells as far as this defensive line. I am concerned that if somebody looks at the tape and says, we're going to run the ball 40 times, that's the question I think Illinois is going to have to answer. That's when I also think, though, in a different scheme, you do get Matthew Bailey back in the box more. And that's going to help your run defense. What's going to hurt is when people spread you out to run the football, which is exactly what Kansas did.
Yeah. All right, Jay, let's switch to the offense. Struggled for most of 3 quarters, right? Only had 2 trips inside Kansas territory through 3 quarters. Very big concern there, but they came up clutch in the 4th quarter. So what was different between the 4th quarter and the first 3?
Well, first I'll give him credit. I thought the first drive, and Barry does Barry Len does a good job of this. I thought the first drive, he did a good job dialing up stuff and scheming them up. I mean, even the first play, just motion the tight end, and he knew that outside linebacker was going to run with that motion. It opens up the edge for Caden Fagan for an 8-yard run. So it's like those little things. And then, they do the pitch, outside, they get a good gain. And then 2 plays later, they fake the pitch. It looks like the same thing, but then Tanner Arkin, instead of blocking, is going down the field and makes a good catch to get us there. I thought the play call to Aiden Lawfrey was phenomenal. Obviously, Aiden wants that one back. He'll learn from it. That's hard, right? But that was the correct play calls. Then I just felt I just felt like we couldn't really get anything going other than Zachary Franklin on a couple throws here and there. That was concerning to me. I was concerned about the offensive line. I just don't think they're communicating great on the offensive line. From what I could see and watching the film and watching it in person, it looked like Kreutz was talking to Getsky, and Getsky was talking to Whiteneck or Chrysler on who's got this guy and who's got that. There was some true bust. It wasn't like they were just getting beat. It was like that guy was unblocked and at the legs of Caden Fagan before he could really get going. Okay. Yeah. So I do think offensive line, we've got to be better. I don't think it was a great game for the offensive line. To Brett's point, as well, what makes Devin Neal real interesting as a back is he's able to stop and start very fast and get to the hole on those counter plays, right? On our counter plays, especially in starting our backs, and he mentioned this, from the shotgun position with the back to the side, a guy like Caden Fagan or something, it's a slower developing play. And a lot of times we're getting tracked down from the backside. So when you have pullers, right, what's going to happen is those defensive linemen can get to the back because nobody's blocking them. You hope the speed is going to get around them. And that's where we saw Khalil Valentine late kind of get around that better. And it also doesn't help. And I could draw this up for you with you, but we can talk about it. If that front line to the side that they're running the play, that side's going to be down blocking. If you don't get a great push up there and really collapse that side, then that pull's got to bow a little more and the running back's got to bow. And the timing was off a lot. But I was concerned about that. I was concerned about the pass protection as well. I don't think Luke had the time to set up and really look for what he wanted to. Sometimes it was on Luke and his processing time. Sometimes it was on the offensive line. But in the end, it comes to players over plays. And I think that's what Barry said. Okay, listen, it's the fourth quarter. We got to make a play. Where are we going? We're going to Pat Bryant. We're going to Zachary Franklin. That's the key, right? But we can't run the football. Even Caden Fagan in the past, we can't run the football like we want to. And I give them a lot of credit for dialing up some of those plays. Luke making unbelievable throws. And Barry Lunny, saying, hey, we're not going to win this game just getting field goals. We had one offensive touchdown, right? Not enough. But I give him credit for saying, I'm going to trust Luke. I'm going to wing it out here. Throw it to Pat Bryant. Throw it to Zachary Franklin. And I love the quarterback draw call on, what was it, 2nd and 18 maybe, that Luke picked up. I thought that was a huge play that Luke picked up. And so there were some different calls in there. I even liked the last call in the 4-minute drill. That was a boot. It was just a really good play by the defensive end, right? I thought that was a really good call where Luke could have run or one-on-one with Zachary. It was just a good play. So sometimes they get you, sometimes they don't. Execution-wise, the offensive line, I thought we could have been better. And I thought Barry really came through in the clutch as far as the fourth quarter, getting it to our players over plays.
Interior of the offensive line really concerns me right now. As you said, Jay, I'm watching the film and there's just like miscommunication of who's got this block or just not executing a double team, like certain things that they got to get better at. I am encouraged by the tackles. I thought their pass pro was really good. Like JC Davis just really doesn't hardly let up anything. So he's been as advertised. But I want to ask about Luke because this was not going well. And I did think like he hung onto the ball too long. We talk about pulling the trigger. I didn't feel like he pulled the trigger on a few passes that were open. But, man, he bounced back from it. And I loved seeing that. Like, I loved seeing him make plays when Jalen Daniels wasn't in this game, right? Like, your quarterback came up with some clutch plays. I thought that was a step in the right direction for Luke Altmaier to have that confidence on a day that it wasn't going all that well.
When you got a quarterback, you got a chance, okay? And I thought Luke Altmaier, We don't win this game last year. I can tell you that much. I know Kansas was better last year. We don't. I know we played them last year, but I'm just saying we don't win this game last year just with our offense, with the way it was, and defense, and especially Luke Altmaier and Luke Altmaier, his ability to, hey, when stuff ain't going your well, you haven't made a couple plays. The third quarter, you looked really bad. You weren't accurate. You were holding on to the ball too long. For you to come through in the fourth quarter with a couple huge third down conversions and tough throws. The first Pat Bryant throw, tremendous catch and tremendous throw. And so that was tremendous. And in the second, the Pat Bryant corner route near the end zone, that was a great throw too. And the Zachary Franklin throw, even the Caden Fagan throw. So to dump off at the time. So he showed his toughness. He showed his leadership. He was gimpy before his, quarterback draw run, and he was able to run that. So he showed a lot of toughness, and it builds a ton of faith in a football team when you cannot play your best offensively and then rise above that, figure it out, and make plays. And we don't win this game without the transfer portal. We don't win it without J.C. Davis because, as Barry Lundy says, J.C. Davis is so good we don't talk about him, because when your tackle's good, you never talk about him, right? Which I thought was, he's just that good. We don't win this game without Zachary Franklin. Zachary Franklin is a huge reason we won this game. Not just the one-handed catch, not just the sideline catch. We have two legit guys that can make contested catches. The question I always say is this: what's the difference between other receivers and those two guys on the Illini rosters? Maybe speed. I don't think so. Maybe size. I don't think so. It's their ability to get open and make contested catches. Zachary Franklin is incredible at making contested catches. Maybe it's that little slant route. Maybe it was on the sideline. Pat Bryant, incredible this year. And I have been vocally a critic of Pat Bryant and his ability to make a big catch in the end zone or on a deep ball. Pat Bryant this year has shown me that has been corrected. He's an all Big Ten receiver. We will see him in the NFL. I'm glad we have him for 10 more games. Right?
Can I give you a stat?
Right?
Give you a stat? On passes of 20-plus yards thrown Pat Bryant's way, those are 50-50 balls, right? Those are one-on-one coverage. So 20-plus yard throws to Pat Bryant. 4 for 4, 108 yards and 2 touchdowns this season.
Wow.
It's not a 50-50 ball. It's a 100-0 ball, right?
Yeah,
for him.
That's a great stat. And I've said, he at times last year could look like an all Big Ten guy. At times he get his hands on the ball in the end zone and maybe didn't come up with it. I've got a lot of confidence in Pat Bryant. He's playing with a lot of confidence. He believes in himself. But having Zachary on the other side makes it very, very difficult, right? Very, very difficult. I wish that Barry, and they got some good corners. I want to give credit to their corners. So I don't want you to think that I'm not giving credit, because I thought Marvin Grant played a great game. Their linebacker. He was all over the field. He was aggressive. What I want to see out of the offense a little bit more is a little bit more rhythmic passing. I don't think we've gotten into that rhythm of just like boom, boom, 5 yards and out. And here's a slant. Here's the screen. Here's a shot. Here's this. It's a little bit there sometimes, but man, I want to see that go. I want to see the run game and that go against Central Michigan, because I just haven't seen that yet. And I think we have the ability to have that.
Yeah, Kansas secondary is really good, but at some point it was like, why aren't they pushing the ball vertically? It felt like they were trying to go side to side, horizontally, right. Jay. And that's just from my view in the press box. But it's like, where are these bang plays? Like, you got Zachary and Pat Bryant, that the slants, like you're talking about. Zachary can get open at any time that he wants. Like, just get those little, because that can be an extension of your run game, right? With those,
I think what's so interesting when watching Zachary on film is he's not a burner. Okay, he's not like he's going to blaze you. He's very crafty and wily with his route running. I mean, he knows how to get open, and that is an art. Like, he's very slippery is not the right word, because he's not like Isaiah Williams slippery, but he's very savvy. He's kind of like that guy you play at the YMCA that's like 45 that can make moves, right?
Wait, listen, this guy's a Hall of Famer. We watched him last night. Cooper Kupp runs a 4.6. And he gets
Right.
open all the time, right?
He's open. I like what the announcer said about Luke Grimm. I'm going to steal this line. Like Luke Grimm, they said they call him 7-Eleven, always open, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's kind of like Zachary Franklin. Like, even if you think he's not open, he's open. Like one of his best catches was that slant, like in the first quarter. Luke throws it low. He's got a guy draped over him, and Zachary Franklin makes that catch. We got two guys that can make that catch.
Yep. Pat
Bryant and Zachary Franklin. Other guys ain't going to make that catch consistently. To have two guys you can throw it up to and have a chance, you've watched football in Illinois football a long time. It hasn't been a lot that we've had that. We can think about Brandon Lloyd, Walter Young, certainly. Aurelius Ben at times. Jenkins could go up. Joshie Matter-Bede comes to mind. But having a legit guy you can go up and go get it. Casey Washington had his moments in his last year, but consistently, we haven't had guys like this, and that's exciting to me. And I know Tanner Arkin missed that one ball. I get that. I feel like he's a year away from being a Tip Ryman. He looks a lot like Tip, right?
That felt like Tip Ryman 2022. Not bringing that one. The first catch was great, but yeah, he doesn't have a lot of reps. Doesn't have a lot of reps doing this.
Doesn't have a ton of reps, right? And I know people don't like, hey, throwing to the tight end in that situation. But hey, listen, if you throw the tight end in big situations, you got to actually think about him defensively, because you throw a couple different things in there. But anyway, I think Tanner's a year away from being an NFL tight end. I really do. I mean, a whole nother year to being like a Tip Ryman. He's going to be a good football player.
He and Henry were really good blocking in this game,
right.
By the way. I know people focus on the pass catching with the tight end. They were great as blockers
right.
in this game.
Right. No, they're good at the point of attack. We do miss a little the twitch from Cole Rusk, and of what he would do in there as far as maybe a different feel. And, we saw the cream rise to the top on who they trust late in the game. Zachary Franklin and Pat Bryant, number one. The Khalil Valentine thing is so intriguing to me.
How hard is that? How hard is that, Jay, for a freshman? Like, what's that tell you about him?
Well, first of all, he comes in the fourth quarter. I'm just like, really? And I'm looking at his ball security, and he was keeping it high and tight. So I didn't feel like he was swinging the ball. One, he's showing to be put in there. He's showing something in practice for the coaches to trust you. We talk about this all the time. Coaches play players that they trust because their job is on the line, right? So it's like, who do I feel like gives me the best chance to win and trust? And for him to be in there, not Caden Fagan, not Aiden Lawfrey, who has the twitch to kind of get up, feel like you want, was interesting to me. And so the fact that he was in for two really big first down runs and some other runs was really telling to me as a freshman, and shows that this guy ain't redshirt, number one. Okay. And he's going to be playing an integral role. He's the only back other than Lawfrey that has a little twitch that we have. We struggle with having some guys that have twitch, and Caden Fagan has some, but he's just a bigger back. And so I think that's where the depth piece comes in, and we can keep guys fresh. So I was really impressed by Valentine down the stretch.
All right, Jay, as we wrap up here, how does a win like this impact your outlook on the season and kind of the tough schedule ahead?
I mean, it's just totally different. I mean, the Monday just feels totally different today than it would have for Illini fans, right? Because you're 1-1 if you lose, and okay, you're 2-1, and you hope you can go and battle and finish 3-1. If by beating Nebraska before, I think they have a bye week after that, I believe.
Well, it's for Illinois, they got Nebraska, then to Penn State, then an off week.
Then a week. Okay. So you have these first 5 weeks of the season, and you're like, okay, what's this look like? I think right now you at least end September with a winning record. And we didn't know what that would be coming into the season, right? Because you have 3 legitimate opponents on there, 2 that are on paper better than you, 1 that, maybe is similar to you in Nebraska, right? And so I think now you're at least saying, hey, we're going to be 3-0 if pending a disaster. And I'm going to say, me and you have seen Eastern Michigan beat us, right? We have seen other teams come into here and beat us as MAC teams. So I've seen Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame.
Central Michigan is not Toledo. I will say that. And right. I feel like Illinois, to this point as a program, I feel pretty confident. Never say never, but I feel pretty confident going in.
Right. So It could happen, but hey, you're at least going to have those 3 wins. You've stayed healthy for the most part, right? We've had some injuries, right? But for the most part, from what we know of, we don't know the injuries that aren't disclosed yet from Brett and who's playing, who's not playing. For the most part, your key guys are healthy. You're healthy on the offensive and defensive line, and you're healthy at the quarterback position. And then from a fan base perspective, like that game is going to sell way more tickets for the next couple games, right? Because it's like, okay, I took my family here. We had a great time. It was a great night, and we won. That hasn't always been the case, right? That has not been the case. It's like we weren't even selling out crowds when we were leading the Big Ten West.
Yeah, and what a game to have. What a game to have homecoming. I know it's an 11 a.m. kickoff, but can you get 2 sellouts in a row? Or if you get to 4-1, Jay, like if you go on the road and beat Nebraska or Penn State, you come home against Purdue. What's that crowd look like? Then what's that Michigan crowd? Like, is that a sellout? Like all of a sudden, like that's a monster financial win for Josh Whitman's athletic
Huge
department.
Financial win. You know, I just got a promo out now. If you get a Central Michigan ticket, you get a Michigan ticket for $65. The combo pack, right? So I mean, they're trying, right? I give them a lot of credit. The whole experience of football, the game, and Wagner said this as well. It's better at Memorial Stadium. It really is. They've done a good job of trying to make it better. But all of that doesn't matter unless you win. And I think what's cool is that Brett has really fielded a competent team. They've been competent. They've always been close when they've been here. But now he's over 500 as you know for being here, which is a good record for an Illinois coach considering what he has inherited. And he's got a chance here to. Do I think they're going to be undefeated? No. Do I think they could win 7 or 8 games if they play like they are playing with turnovers? Yes. We got to clean some stuff up front for sure. But the outlook of the season, I am excited about that. Do I think we have as dominating defense as 2022? I don't. Yeah. But do I think our offense has more weapons? I do. So that trade-off, you take care of the ball, you win those critical areas, future looks bright.
All right, Jay, before I let you go, Central Michigan just got crushed at FIU, as we said earlier. What do you want to see from Illinois in the last game before Big Ten play starts and get to that 3-0 record, which they haven't had in 13 years?
Yeah, so offensively, I want to see the offensive line get cleaned up and run the football with authority, right? Against an FBS school. And they did it against an FCS school, and I know it's a group of 5 conference, but clean that up as far as the communication and get stuff going. I want to see some rhythmic passing from Luke Altmaier, right? And I want to give credit to Luke Altmaier. Doesn't have a pick on the season, right? I mean, it's something to be said. Doesn't have 1 interception. Like, I don't think we mentioned that enough. And I want to just say, Luke Altmaier, you're taking care of the football and you're winning football games. You can't ask much more of your quarterback, right? Just ask the Bears. But that was an interesting game. So, but anyway, so I want to see those 2 things. Defensively, I want to see the D-line play and get after the quarterback. They weren't able to do it last game. I want to see us be more stout against the run. Listen, it is so rare in a football game that the other team can run the ball better and stop your run better and you win. That's what we just saw with Kansas, right? The reason we won, 4 turnovers. That's the key reason, right? But you're going to get into Big Ten play, and you could get into a Penn State team that really runs the football well, right? With a former Kansas offensive coordinator, and they're going to be able to stop your run with your front. You can't just bank on turnovers. You've got to be better. You got to pick up a couple first downs to make that happen, to stop a couple people and bow up. So I want to see that run defense get better. At the end of the day, it comes down to, can you run the ball, blocking, and can you stop the run, tackling, blocking and tackling on the fundamental level. I think that's Brett's strong suit.
J Leman, I know people are excited for this, and you delivered as always. You're the goods man. We'll catch up next week.
Yeah, let's do it.